Daily Trust News Center. This is the News Hour.
On the News Hour tonight, residents express worry over lack of regulation and effective control of fake drug distribution in the country. 2 kidnapped in Abuja community as police rescue Deacon and 4 other victims in Kwara State. And residents groan over new yam flooding the market amidst rising cost of food commodities. And on the foreign scene, heavy rains and flooding killed 37 in South Korea. Hello there. Welcome to the News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. The high rate of fake drugs and its distribution in Nigeria is raising concerns among Lagos residents. Some say drugs that are meant to be obtained in hospitals and pharmaceutical stores are now being peddled in the streets by petty traders. Here's the report.
They're sick because of the financial situation. Some rely so much on pharmacists and roadside drug sellers. Some pharmacists in Lagos said they only give drugs to patients based on doctor's prescription. Chidera Eze said that all drugs displayed in the store have NAFDAC registration, as they're all gotten directly from manufacturers. Ngozi Nwabo speaks on how they discard expired drugs.
Drugs they are all effective. I will get it directly from company and they are all okay, and people like the drugs. They like everything about the drugs. Very, very effective.
A shop that you're managing, at least in every 2 weeks or a month, you go through your drugs, check the dates. It's very compulsory to check your dates to avoid giving somebody expired drugs.
The roadside drug sellers often buy drugs directly from pharmacies who sell wholesale.
I go to the pharmacy and tell them, see what is wrong with me. They will not know the medicine to give to me. I don't normally describe the medicine they will give to me. I normally tell them how I'm feeling. So they normally give me drugs to take on. For the roadside, I will go to the roadside and tell them, madam or sir, I need medicine for this, I need medicine for that. They will not collect and give it to me. I will now leave.
I normally patronize them because all their things is good. The same thing on the side and the other side. All of them is good, and they have their number, normally NAFDAC number. It's not today, it's not tomorrow, it's for years.
Citizens are advised to always get doctor's prescription on any drug they must take so as to guarantee their health.
In a related development, regulation and effective control of distribution of fake drugs in Nigeria will require a new strategy. While residents of Bauchi State made the observation during an interview with Trust TV against the backdrop of the over-reliance of NAFDAC registration number in checking fake drugs in circulation. Adamu Imam tells us more.
Many Nigerians believe that prescribed drugs that carry NAFDAC registration number are undoubtedly genuine and authentic, ready for use by patients. Idris Rabiu and Audley Francis expressed their views on the issue bordering on relying on NAFDAC registration number in checking distribution of fake and substandard drugs.
We have the Standard Organization of Nigeria. So they have their own way. While NAFDAC is taking care of the policy of our drug administration, control, and other aspects, then the Standard Organization is making sure that that drug is conform, or that consumable item is conform with the actual quality. And the production has to make sure that it has been produced in a hygienic environment with an authentic laboratory.
If they make it very bold, like a brand name, well, it's going to bring an awareness to some persons to begin to look at it too. But my concern is, most of these rural areas, they don't know about these things. Truly, they don't know about it. Even myself, it takes me some time to know, this is supposed to have a expiring date, and I flip over to see. But in terms of drugs, of course you agree with me, all drugs, their own usually is very tiny at the back, and which is not visible. And some of them say, you will see a NAFDAC number, you don't even know the meaning. Nowhere to even test it to know if truly this one is there. Yes, I can see a NAFDAC number, and I don't know how true. People can just forge it. You agree with me? Somebody can forge it, and Do you have any platform to who will give us that technology or phone to go and check if this one is truly part of NAFDAC number? There are a lot of problems about this NAFDAC number thing.
However, on self-medication, the respondents expressed different opinion on factors responsible for that.
At times, it's not an issue of cost. We just have our own belief. For example, Marlon Tonko has headache. He took Sadress. And when you tell him you are having headache, he will just tell you, I used Sadress yesterday, and you also use it. So at times, it's not the cost of medication. Sometimes it's lack of awareness that is making people to decide medication, because most people doesn't know the disadvantage of it.
And some people are even scared of even going there to get those prescription, because it will scare you to even go and start getting those drugs. The better still, they will take self-medication. I could remember when I was growing up, my grandparents I stayed with, as soon as they complain about body pains, those days it's chloroquine. They will give you chloroquine to give you. That's because they are afraid to go to the doctor to get prescription. Of course, doctor will not only give you chloroquine as prescription. He can give you many things. So those are not many drugs there that are afraid. So we end up buying chloroquine that is cheaper.
Pharmacist Ibrahim Gamawa gives an insight into the fight against distribution of fake drugs.
To read by every literate person, I should say that. So it is important that everyone should check the drug they are taking to ensure that the NAFDAC has undergone thorough checking on that particular drug.
Gamawa noted that only ignorant people of those that are eager that fails to check the authenticity of prescribed drugs by a physician before usage. Ademi Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
Well, join us on the News Hour tonight to give some more insight on this development via Zoom is the National Publicity Secretary of the Association of Community Pharmacists in Nigeria, Pharmacist Kenneth Ede Uja. Pharmacist, good evening and thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, recently the federal government announced plans to reduce the importation of drugs from 60% to 40%. And of course, the prices of some of these drugs have also sharply increased by well over 60% to 150% because of the unification of the currencies exchange as well as subsidy removal. Give me your take on how the industry is doing at this point vis-a-vis the economic situation that Nigerians are going through.
Okay, once again, thank you for having me. It is no longer news that the pharmaceutical industry is equally operating in the same economy as like every other sector of the economy. So it's a normal thing because in our country today, we discovered that over some time now, we have industries or industry players looking or seeking dollars from the open market, from the black market. So when that happens, of course, by the time you are importing essential medicines or medicines that are prescription drugs that are genuinely required by Nigerians, getting this drug will require that you get the proper dollar to get your importation. And when you do that, of course, it's going to increase because of where you source these dollars. It will definitely increase the cost of these medications. And that is partly one of the reasons why we are having a marginal increase in the cost of essential medicines in Nigeria. And then for the report from the special advisor to the president on health on the issue of reducing importation of medicines from 60% to 40%. Well, it's a good thing, and it was aimed at that particular policy is aimed at encouraging local manufacturing, encouraging local production of essential medicines within our country, and also for national security when it comes to drug security. So it's a good thing, but what we only are looking for is to ensure that adequate consultation is made, to ensure that all the key players are brought to the table and proper consideration made before such pronouncements can go into effect.
Okay, pharmacists, let's talk about the elephant in the conversation as far as circulation of fake drugs in the country is concerned. How has the pharmaceutical industry responded to this growing concern across the length and breadth of this country, where fake drugs are now becoming rampant and readily available for Nigerians because of their affordability?
Okay. Yes, fake drugs is a menace that the federal government of Nigeria are doing everything within its power to curtail, as well as at the local or the state levels. However, at the association level, the Association of Community Pharmacists of Nigeria have all our members across the country, and will encourage Nigerians to ensure that they patronize registered pharmaceutical premises to get their medicines. Having said that, we cannot completely stop people from patronizing all sorts of drug or medicine dealers around their locality. But as much as possible, in the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, for example, the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria also ensures that licensing of these places where drugs should be getting from are constantly being carried out. So we encourage Nigerians, and we have been doing that at association level, running programs, running outreaches to tell people that, look, this and this are the places you should visit to get your medicines. And when you have one or two reasons why you're suspecting a particular medicine to be fake, these are the procedure you should take, and these are where you should go to verify, to be sure that what you are taking is genuine.
All right. Okay. And just this past month, the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria suspended 4 practitioners for unethical practices alongside other infractions by these 4 practitioners. What are your thoughts about how much more we need to do to police this industry, especially because of its direct consequence and correlation with public health at this moment?
Okay, the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria is the regulator of a pharmacy practice, pharmacy education, and even the behavior of the practitioners. So from time to time, if a practitioner, a registered pharmacist, for example, has any misbehavior in whatever way, it could be in terms of his professional duty or otherwise, that is against the ethics of the profession. Of course, they are called to answer some questions, and if they are found wanting, those erring professionals will be adequately sanctioned. This is also to send message out to the general public that the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria do not take for light or for granted any misdemeanor from any of the practitioners. So it's a good thing to control, to do that, and it also helps to control the way that practitioners exercise their duties.
What about those drugstores? Because there are pharmacies, and then you have drugstores that are being manned by people who lack the intellectual capacity or the professional licensing needed to dispense some of these drugs that Nigerians purchase over the counter on a regular basis. What do we need to do to mitigate some of these operations, especially given the fact that there are a lot of Nigerians that are being exposed unnecessarily because of their lack of awareness to some of these substandard products?
Yes, that's a very good question. Yes, as it is today in Nigeria, we have over 774 local governments in Nigeria today, and this local government has virtually drugstores left, right, and center. They are, some of them are actually under the control of the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria via what we call the patent and proprietary medicine list. So the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria regulates. However, a very good number of them are actually not under the control at the moment because they did not even in the first place get the license to practice. However, they are there in our community. And that's how we continue to encourage our people that they should look out and they should be very, very careful when taking medicines, because of course, there is no way, as it stands today, the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria do not have the requisite support in a way to police the 774 local government of the country. So we cannot completely say that these medicine dealers or chemists are not there. They are there, but we are telling our
pharmacist Kenneth, thank you most kindly for joining us on the news tonight. We do appreciate you for the insight. Pharmacist Kenneth is a National Publicity Secretary, Association of Community of Pharmacists of Nigeria, speaking on the pharmaceutical industry and some of the underlying developments around fake drugs as well as regulatory issues. Now, 2 persons have been kidnapped in Mbappe area of the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja. A correspondent learned that gunmen stormed the area in the early hours of Sunday and whisked away 2 residents. A resident of the area who identified himself as Yakubu told our correspondent that the gunmen, numbering about 6, attacked the area, shooting sporadically while the operation lasted, and kidnapped 2 people in the process. The FCT Police Command spokesperson, SP Josephine Ade, confirmed the incident. While speaking, SP Ade says that there was a swift response from members of the police force in Mbappe and the command tactical team that mounted pressure on the criminals, which forced them to leave their victims behind. She added that the victims had been rescued by the police and would be reunited with their families. This police spokesperson says efforts are ongoing to arrest the suspects. The Kwara State Police Command on Saturday rescued 5 persons who were kidnapped by some gunmen in Ising local government area of the state. Thursday evening, the victims were abducted between Ijara Ising and Isanlu Ising after sporadic shootings in the area, and they were rescued from the forest not far from the locality through the combined efforts of local hunters, vigilantes and policemen on Saturday night. Those rescued, according to a press statement released by the State Police Public Relations Officer, included a deacon of the First Baptist Church, Isanlu Ising, Femi Ajayi, and his father, Dikpe Ajayi. Alongside them is Kunle Abolaring and Femi Abolaring, all of Oke Orang, Isanlu Ising, as well as one Oke Olatunji who was rescued in a Toyota Sienna bus used by the kidnappers for their operation. The statement issued on Sunday morning by the Police Public Relations Officer, SP Okosami Ajayi, says that the unfortunate kidnapping incident took place in Isanlu on July 13, 2020 at about 5 p.m. local time. Now, residents of Jalingo in Taraba State are now buying a tuber of yam at the rate of 2,000 naira as new yam begins to flood the markets. Farmers blame the rising cost of the commodity to a change in the rainfall pattern this year and the removal of fuel subsidy across the country. Our correspondent spoke to some buyers and sellers at the Yoro market in Yoro local government area of Taraba State and the Jalingo main market about the availability of the new yam in the state. His report.
Taraba State is one of the states in the country that produces large quantity of yam every year from different areas of the state. Yoro, Zinc, Wukari, Wakum and Ibi local government areas are major yam producing areas in the state. Samuel Sunday and Darius Moses are yam farmers in Yoro local government area. They said that yam is usually planted around November and December, and they harvest it between May and June. Yam sellers at Malang Audu area of Yoro local government area. According to them, 100 pieces of new yam cost 150,000 and 200,000 naira, as against last year when the same amount of yam is sold between 60,000 and 80,000 naira depending on the size.
What is happening this year is different from what the last year. Look and see the example. I bought one that rat has even eaten it. I was asked to pay 1,000. Unless when it is full, they will tell you that it's 1,700. So you can't compare this year with last year condition.
In Jalingo main market, Abubakar Sadiq, both sellers of old and new yam said that lack of access road and full subsidy removal are factors responsible for the price hike. They are, however, optimistic that price will come down when the market is flooded with yam later in the year. President Bola Tinubu has on Friday declared emergency on food inflation and water availability to address rising cost of living.
And in Plateau State, the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, the state chapter, says the recent crisis being experienced in the state will affect food supply in Plateau State. John Weab, AFAN state chairman, who disclosed this in an interview with Trust TV in Jos, the Plateau State capital, says the instability will affect food production of items like maize and other crops in the state. Ado Musa tells us more.
In the last few weeks, hundreds of people in the villages of Barikiladi, Mangu and Yom local government areas of the state were confirmed killed in various attacks and counter-attacks between farming communities and pastoralists. Hundreds of thousands of residents of the affected communities have fled their houses to other communities for safety. Many of the affected residents have reportedly abandoned farming activities to relatives in other areas. The recent trouble started when this year's farming season started. With this development, however, the chairman of All Farmer Association of Nigeria said food supply in the market will undoubtedly be affected by the crisis.
When there is crisis, it affects everyone because the production will not be there. The farmers cannot access their farms because of security challenges. And also, the crisis was even, let me say, the invaders cutted most of their inputs away, which were meant to be planted for the season, and even the one they have put in store to salvage themselves with is not there. So it's certainly going to affect the food system.
Asking how the shortage of food supply could be avoided, the AFAN has this to say.
Some farmers are back to the farms, but not many, because most of them, their shelter were destroyed and they are no more there. You will never expect them to produce what it used to be. But the solution now is there are early maturing crops that the government can intervene by supplementing it to the farmers so that they can cultivate something that will salvage themselves and even others could benefit from it.
With the recent measures taken by the security agencies to arrest the lingering crisis, many residents hope that such steps will provide an enabling environment for farmers and other food suppliers to engage themselves better in farming business in the state. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Now, in Benue State, residents have expressed concerns over the hike in the price of table water despite the availability of the natural resource in the state. A cross-section who spoke to our correspondent in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, say a bag of sachet water, popularly known as pure water, now sells for between 250 naira to 300 naira in the state capital. Here's Jimmy Azande with the rest of the story.
The residents said water is fast becoming a commodity that many families can no longer afford in the state, even with the advantage as home to one of the two biggest rivers in Nigeria.
Something they buy before 10 naira, now na 20 naira. Bag of pure water before is like 150, but now they buy at 250. That means the cost be that now. Cost where myself. So we don't know how we go do for this country now. Only God will help us now.
Cost of pure water in my area. Pure water is 350 naira, depending on where you're getting it from. Yeah, some people do sell 250, while others is 350, and depending on the pure water, the product.
What you are buying is 110 naira, and then now they increase it to 120 naira. It's really affecting us. So So we want the government to help and assist so that it will come back to the normal price, which is 10 naira.
The water sellers in the state said the wholesale price is affecting the prices retailers sell to the final consumers.
The pure water is 250. The reason is because I buy the pure water at the rate of 200, so I sell 250 the bag of pure water, and I give 3 for 50 naira.
If it is before, we buy at rate of 150 and say 200, and now we buy at rate of 200 and say 250.
Those in neighboring states like Kogi also share their experiences.
Cost of pure water in our side, in Lokoja, one bag is 150. We sell it. So yes, it's 150. So when you buy it from the car, yes, and you want to resell it, you can resell it 200 or 220. So that is it. So, but since I came to Makurdi, so I used to buy one bag of pure water in our area in Urukum, low level. They used to sell it for me 300, one bag, and 350 naira. Yes.
They said without prompt intervention, the situation may get out of hand for low-income families.
You tell the government, make it return the 10 naira back. The cost 20 naira is too much.
I say government to look into this matter to solve this issue of water scarcity and good water for our own community and our own people here.
The major fact, we in Africa, we are suffering much about water. And water is the major project in Africa. And the government is not doing anything about the water. They're only talking about fuel, and water is the main. When the government work towards the water, and everybody get the water very easy, especially those in the remote area. We in the town are finding it difficult, especially River Benue is in my house. I'm still buying pure water 20.
The water crisis in Benue State, home to River Benue, is blamed on poor government policies and corruption with successive administrations at the state level. Jimmy Azande, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
To some of the day's other news, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority has issued an all-operators letter alerting airline operators in the country over fuel contamination incidents in the aviation industry. This followed a recent discovery of a huge volume of water in the fuel tank of one of the aircrafts belonging to Max Air, which operation of all Boeing 737 aircrafts in its fleet was suspended last week. After the discovery, which grounded the Max Air aircraft, the NCAA dispatched a team of investigators to Lagos, Kano and Abuja, where the airline had refueled prior to the incident. Amidst the uproar that greeted the discovery, which averted a major incident in the industry, the NCAA followed up with an AOL to alert operators of the risk and hazards associated with aircraft refueling. President Bola Tinubu on Sunday in Nairobi, Kenya, has reaffirmed Africa's unity and strength while strongly rejecting the notion of a new scramble for Africa. The president warned that past plundering and exploitation of the continent should remain in the past and never be repeated. This was contained in a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Special Duties, Communications and Strategy, Dele Alake, speaking at the 5th Media Coordination Meeting of the African Union, the regional economic communities, the regional mechanisms, and the African Union member states. The president announced plans to strengthen the ECOWAS, a standby force to deter coups and combat terrorism in the sub-region. The president, in his capacity as the chairperson of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, highlighted the progress made by ECOWAS in various sectors of its integration process, to include trade, free movement of persons, investment promotion, infrastructure development, and security. In his statement entitled Address on Status of Regional Integration in ECOWAS, he emphasized the need for Africa to overcome its challenges and work towards a prosperous future, focusing on inclusive growth, good governance, and leveraging the opportunities provided by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area.
The challenges we face mean that governance will be difficult. They also mean that visionary good governance is necessary. Some observers observe a new scramble for Africa is afoot, and it is much like the old scramble that plundered our continent. But here and now, let it be said to whoever the new scramblers might be, our continent may be old, but our spirit is new. And it is strong. The bad that took place in the past must not stay here. It shall never be repeated. ECOWAS continue to strengthen effort to maintain peace and security in the region by ensuring the conduct of peaceful elections in member states to deepen democracy and promote good governance.
Now, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged the Senate President Godswill Akpabio and the Speaker of the House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas to, quote, drop the scandalous plan to spend 40 billion naira on 465 exotic and bulletproof cars for members and principal officers and 70 billion naira as palliatives for new members of the National Assembly. SERAP urged them to, quote, repeal the 2022 Supplementary Appropriation Act to reduce the budget for the National Assembly by 110 billion naira to reflect the current economic realities in the country and address the impact of the removal of fuel subsidy on the over 130 million Nigerians who are poor. According to the report, while 70 billion naira support allowance is budgeted for 306 new lawmakers, only 500 billion naira worth of palliatives is budgeted for over 12 million poor Nigerian families. Now, 40 billion naira is also allocated to buy 465 sport utility vehicles and bulletproof cars for members and principal officers in the National Assembly. In the letter dated 15th of July 2023 and signed by the SERAP Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare, the organization says this travesty and apparent conflict of interest and self-dealing by members of the National Assembly must stop. SERAP says, quote, it is a fundamental breach of their fiduciary duties for members of the National Assembly to arbitrarily increase their own budget and to use the budget as a tool to satisfy the lifestyle of lawmakers. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Still to come, we take a look at the devastating effect of cybercrime on Nigerians. Details of this and many more stories coming up ahead after the break. Welcome back to the News Hour, and thank you very much for staying with us. Here's a quick recap of our top stories at this hour. Residents worried over lack of regulation and effective control over the distribution of fake and substandard drugs in Nigeria. 2 persons kidnapped in Abuja community as police rescue a deacon and 4 other victims in Kwara State. Moving on to some of the day's other stories, a debate over a merger or unbundling or scrapping of some ministries, departments and agencies of government is taking center stage as cost of governance continues to rise in the country. Trust TV Shafiu Suleiman speaks to some retired senior civil servants on the desirability or otherwise of implementing the Oranshire report. His report.
Increasing number of ministries, departments and agencies, with some having overlapping functions, has prompted thinking around merger and scrapping of some to save costs of running governance. The size of Nigeria's bureaucracy, which has around 2 million mainstream and ancillary workforce, has been a source of concern to successive administrations. It has become even more worrisome in the face of running a central government with 36 states governments in the federation, with each having its 3 arms to cater for.
It is overdue just to make at least to cut some cost, because most of the ministries perform the same function. If you want to do some research, you see that there are some ministries that perform the same function, thereby making the government to run easily because of money. People are suffering now. They should channel some money to other areas of the economy.
I don't have any problem with the merger or unbundling of ministries, MDA ministries, departments and agencies. The only problem I have is when whatever actions we are taking is going to cause loss of job.
Ibrahim Biu is an astute administrator. While he agrees that there is need to unbundle some of the ministries for efficiency, he is however not in support of trimming down the numbers.
I think it's good if President Tinubu can take a look at that report, because that report calls for a kind of unbundling of some ministries, merger of some departments and agencies, and with the way the economy is now, and with the kind of economic policies the president has in trying to boost the economy, to reduce waste and also reduce, this bloated bureaucracy, I think is good.
While some see the need to revisit the Steve Oronsaye report, which recommended merging the MDAs amongst other suggestions, a retired permanent secretary Hakim Baba Ahmed is of the view that the situation is more complex than even thought.
It's very facile. It doesn't deal with the real issues about cost of governance and the fundamentals about restructuring the public service. And thirdly, too many people think it's the solution to everything wrong about the public service, like cost of governance, lack of efficiency, corruption, improving cost competencies, mergers of agencies, those kind of things. Those are not going to be solved by the Oronsaye report. If the government wants to address the public service, it needs to look at the public service as it exists today, in the context in which it exists today.
As the increasing need to reduce the cost of governance in the country takes a center stage, experts say the Tinubu administration must put all options on the table, including the cost of running bicameral legislature and executive expenses, with a view to freeing funds for national development. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, the National Judicial Council, NJC, has recommended for the approval of 28 judicial officers for Federal High Courts and Sharia Courts of Appeal of Kaduna and Kano states. The list comprises 23 judges for Federal High Courts, which includes the son of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Olukayode Ariola Jr., Grand Qadi, and 4 Qadis for Sharia Courts of Appeal. The recommendation came at the 103rd meeting of the NJC, which was presided over by the Chief Justice of the Federation, Justice Olukayode Ariola, in Abuja. According to a statement by the NJC's Director of Information, Soji Oye, The decision was taken after deliberation on the list of candidates presented by the interview committee. Those recommended for Federal High Court judges, according to the statement, are Ekerete Odufort Akpang, Hussaini Dadang Garba, Egbe Raphael Joshua, Anyawale Onoja Alakpa, Aishatu Aute Ibrahim, Ogazi Friday, Ogundare Keinde Olayola, Ona Chigoze Sagios, Hawa Buhari, Ibrahim Ahmad Kalla, among many others. Now, the Akwa Ibom State Police has given out 49 million naira as welfare to 123 families of officers. The welfare, which comes under group life assurance checks and personnel accident scheme checks, were given to next of kin of deceased and some serving officers involved in accidents while performing their lawful duties. The Public Relations Officer of the force in the state, SP Odiko Macdon, says the presentations were made by the Commissioner of Police, Olatoye Durosemi, on behalf of the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun. The Police Commissioner urged them to use the funds wisely while thanking the Inspector General of Police for the gesture, which he noted will encourage serving police officers to put in their best. Now, the Zamfara State chapter of the All Progressives Congress, APC, has condemned the action of the police and the Dauda Lawal-led PDP government in the state for what it described as an illegal seizure of the party's chairman's official vehicle without warrant. A statement by the party's publicity secretary, Yusuf Idris, says the incident occurred in Gusau, the Zamfara State capital, when the police, who have been secretly trailing the driver of the vehicle, descended on the vehicle to take it away. APC also claims the police operatives said they were directed by the State Police Commissioner to recover the vehicle and take it to the police headquarters in Gusau, only for them to divert to the government house after forcing the driver to change his route. Elsewhere, the state's coordinator of the Human Rights Commission, Zamfara State, Abdullahi Abubakar, says the commission recorded over 35 cases of human rights violations this year alone. He disclosed this during a chat with our correspondent in Gusau, the Zamfara State capital, saying that there are serious cases of human rights violations in the state due to banditry activities. Here's the report.
The suspected terrorist operating in Zamfara State, northwest Nigeria, not only kill and abduct, but also raped their female victims. Little wonder that the coordinator of the Human Rights Commission in Zamfara State, Abdullahi Abubakar, identified non-state actors and state actors as perpetrators of human rights violations in the state. He described human rights violation as very serious in the state, which the Commission has noted that more than 35 cases and there are several unreported ones, underscoring the need for collective intervention on the challenges confronting Zamfara State and Nigeria at large.
I can tell you that there is serious human rights violation daily happening, either from the state actors or non-state actors. This year, we have recorded more than 35. But there are even more than that we have been seeing, we have been following up. There are some that have not come to the office directly, but when we see in social media, some will come, even in the bush. So there are so many ways we handle it.
Abubakar, however, said that the Commission has been collaborating with the civil society organizations, community leaders, security agencies, and international organizations to address and prevent issues of human rights violations in Zamfara State.
And we do engage security personnel from Nigerian Army, Nigerian Police, DSS, civil defense, all of them. We do used to have meetings, we do used to engage ourselves. Where there are issues, we write to them and we follow it off. That's it. So there are so many ways we handle it, and we engage even community leaders.
The Human Rights Commission State Coordinator explained that it is the responsibility of Zamfara State government to take care of medical bills of victims of terrorist attacks and provide food and temporary shelters to displaced persons and also noted that the number of casualty figures, as well as engaged with troops carrying out the operation in the troubled areas.
Welcome to Trust TV, where we document the Nigerian story. Our programming showcases the rich culture and diversity of Nigeria. We strive to amplify the voices that make our nation unique. Our programming is designed to take you on a journey through the different tastes of entertainment in our country. We showcase the best of Nigerian culture, from traditional craft to cutting-edge technology. Our team of expert journalists are dedicated to unveiling the intricacies of our culture and telling the untold stories that binds us all. And let's not forget the food. Nigeria has diverse and flavorful cuisines, some of the favorites to millions across the world. What is Nigeria without its people, their passions and their talent? Trust TV is not just a channel, it's a platform that brings you closer to everything that makes Nigeria great. Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Apologies for that unintended intermission. Welcome back to the news. Now, residents of Delta State have called for concerted efforts in preserving African culture in the face of growing Western influence. They spoke with Jonathan Awanyai at the presentation of a staff of office to a king in Delta State.
Some residents of Delta State harped on the need for Nigerians to appreciate and promote the country's diverse cultures, adding that cultural diversity was significant for national growth. The respondents who spoke with Trust TV said that the preservation of Nigeria's cultural heritage was imperative if the country would completely liberate itself from the clutches of imperialism, which was clearly destroying the country's natural values. They also reiterated the need for preservation of the African cultural heritage, adding that they were significant in defining people's true identity. Western civilization and ways of life have relegated African traditions, respected all over the world, to the background.
I am advising our people that our culture should not be forgotten. That each time we have occasions like this, we should also make sure that we bring in our people to perform, so that the culture will always be remembered.
Cultural heritage is what we've grown up to be, but it's quite unfortunate that today, because of civilization, and many of us, we are actually living our culture. We need to bring them to play, because a lot of us, children of this generation, they're actually missing out.
Our custom, our heritage, that we must follow our ancestral right and uphold to it. That is our value in Africa, in Nigeria.
What I will say about our culture is our heritage. It is what we must sustain. Whether we travel abroad or we do not travel abroad, we must definitely come back to our culture. So at all points of time, we must make sure that we preserve our culture.
Jonathan Awanyai, Trust TV News, Asaba.
Right, over the years, a lot of people have fallen victim to online scams, leading to distrust between associates. There's a trend where a dubious phone call could cost you everything. You not only risk losing your money, but as Salis Lawan reports, the encounter can leave a devastating effect on your physical and mental health. Take a look.
Scams have become a popular trend in Nigeria, a devious means by which many unsuspecting victims, who are often low-income earners, lost their hard-earned savings to cyber criminals. These criminals mostly pose as bank workers, asking for customers' bank information or business managers sometimes.
Hello, sir.
This victim, who agreed to share her encounter with the scammers, said she has received a call that brought her anguish.
I wouldn't say a mistake though, because it was a friend's account that I know, so she do sell some stuff. So I saw a post about something to buy, and then I requested for it. So she said I should send the money to a particular account number, and I did. And after everything, I didn't find the goods. So I'm kind of scared of buying things online. So if I see something I like online, then I will ask the person of the physical shop. Then if you have a shop that I can reach out to, then I would just prefer going to the shop to check what I want and I pay. So online stuff, no, I don't want to do it again.
Is it true banks call to ask customers information for verification? A banker, Benjamin Gablai, speaks on the bank's effort to prevent people from falling victims.
I advise that no bank, I will assure you that no bank will call you to give any details to them. So whenever you receive any call talking about your bank, there are questions. If you ask them, sometimes they get confused. These are scams, and it affects even our WhatsApp platforms. It affects Facebook. And by the time they begin to get into those details, that's why they get the details of your banks and begin to perpetrate some unholy deductions from your account.
While many focus on the financial impact of fraud, the emotional and mental impact can be just as damaging with serious health consequences. Victims of fraud require immediate help, which must be offered by a professional.
Of course, someone that has been a victim of scam, we can say, of course, it causes a lot of things, which one of them, like I've said, is inflict trauma. It might be emotional, it might be psychological. Of course, I might have something that I've solely depend on, or should I say I've spent years, months trying to gather them or trying to save. So if somebody will come in just a second or minutes and scam me, so you can think what that might cost me. It might be emotionally, it might be psychologically. A lot of people who have been affected by all this online and cyber crime or whatever have been affected mentally.
These criminals are still on the loose like a lion hunting for its prey, not just the weak, but the gullible. Salis Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
On the international scene, rescue workers in South Korea have recovered 7 bodies from a bus trapped in a flooded underground tunnel, according to media reports, as days of torrential rains caused widespread flooding, landslides, and the overflow of a major dam. Officials in the central town of Osong told the Yonhap news agency on Sunday that rescue workers recovered an additional 6 bodies from the 685-meter-long tunnel as they scrambled to reach several people who remained trapped. The 4-lane underpass became inundated on Saturday when the banks of a nearby Miho River collapsed following 3 days of heavy rainfall. The deluge swept through the tunnel too quickly for people to escape, according to news reports. Officials say rescue workers recovered 1 body from the tunnel on Saturday and saved 9 people who survived by clinging to the sides of a guardrail around the tunnel, according to the Korea Herald newspaper. And now for today's latest sports developments, let's join Kabiru Lawa for the briefing in sports.
Nigeria's Women's World Cup squad received a warm First Nations welcome in Brisbane, Australia. The ceremony took place 4 days before the FIFA's Women's World Cup kicks off. The Nigerian women team will start the World Cup campaign by facing Canada on Friday, July 21st, 2023. This year's edition of the tournament is the third time the two teams will be chasing in the World Cup, with the African side undefeated in the previous two head-to-heads. They will then face Australia 4 days after Canada, and then the Republic of Ireland, also 4 days after Australia. The 4 teams make up Group B. The 9th FIFA Women's World Cup is hosted by New Zealand and Australia. The Super Falcons have participated in the past 6 editions. Their best showing to date is a quarter-final appearance in the 1999 World Cup. Nigeria is one of the 4 squads from Africa that qualified for the tournament this year. Zambia in Group C will play Spain, Costa Rica and Japan. South Africa in Group G will go head-to-head with Sweden, Italy and Argentina. Morocco in Group H will play Germany, Colombia and Korea Republic. Still in sports, on many tennis courts across Tunisia, Ons Jabo's name is on everyone's lips. Ons Jabo, the only Arab woman and only North African tennis player to participate in the final at Grand Slam tournament, has entered history. The player, who has now competed in the 3 Grand Slam finals, continues to set record for Arab and African players. At a sporting club in Tunis, Yasmin, Lina and Emna talk about their role model. 28-year-old Jagba has become a national icon and achieved the feat of putting the spotlight on tennis in a football-dominated nation. Fans praise a dynamic game which includes top shots and approaches to the net and a sense of camaraderie. The star continues to push the limits despite a difficult period, showing a series of recent injuries to her wrist and calf. This has undoubtedly earned her a lot of admiration. In basketball, it was a mixed grill as 5-time African champions Egypt were shocked by a rampaging Guinea side that showed no fear for the Pharaohs. Cote d'Ivoire defeated Tunisia and Uganda fell to Chad. Only Mali kept their winning streak and have secured their place in the quarterfinals. Egypt fell 83-78 to Guinea in an encounter many had thought would be an easy game for the reigning champions. But that was not to be, as Guinea, inspired by Nour Gassim Touré, hurt their opponent's sinking game high 25 points while adding 7 rebounds, 6 assists and 1 steal. Egypt started well in the first quarter, leading 22-17, but the Guineans have changed the tide of the game in the next 3 quarters to set the tune for victory dance at the end of the day. That's Sport News. I am Kabir Lawal.
Many thanks to Kabir Lawal for the sports update. And with that, we've come to the end of the News Hour Bulletin. Many thanks for your time and company. Feel free to follow us across all our social media platforms for more content. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for your time and good night.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.